This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Peak of current COVID-19 wave expected in 3 weeks. The Ministry of Health is expecting Jamaica to reach the peak of the current COVID-19 wave in the next 3 weeks, with as many as 11,500 cases likely to be reported at the height of the surge. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Besesa McKenzie says Jamaica's reproductive rate now stands at 2.4. In the 14-day period up to Thursday, a total of 4,863 new cases were reported. According to Dr. Besesa McKenzie, this is expected to increase rapidly and could reach more than 11,000 cases at the peak, based on projections using the productive rate at the current numbers. Rapid exposure is happening to a lot of persons and the numbers are going up quickly, she warned. The chief medical officer said deaths could also spike quickly. As the number of confirmed cases increase, the number of deaths can also increase to in the region of 200 to 300 in that peak week, she revealed. Hospitalizations are projected to increase with up to 2,500 people on beds in the peak week. With the current COVID-19 wave affecting 55.9% of communities, Dr. Besesa McKenzie said hospital bed occupancy levels are rising. Several hospitals now have to be considering changing the service delivery by curtailing some activities to be able to manage the COVID beds. The CMO said Jamaica is now seeing the highest number of children in hospital since the start of the pandemic. However, she noted that the proportion of children getting ill relative to the rest of the population remains the same.
Based on the projections using the reproductive number, it could mean that we may take another 3 weeks or so to get to the peak of this fourth wave. And in that peak week, we could have as much as 11,500 cases being confirmed based on the present numbers where we are and the reproductive rate. Rapid exposure is happening to a lot of persons and the numbers are going up quickly. In terms of deaths, the trend is there, again, showing that increase, that we can have that possibility of rising in numbers. As the number of confirmed cases increase, the number of deaths can also increase to in the region of 200 to 300 in that peak week. And again, in terms of hospitalizations, again, the trend is up. In terms of the geographical spread, we now have 55.9% of communities affected. In terms of bed occupancy, going back up again, very high pressure on the hospital system. Several hospitals now have to be considering changing the service delivery by curtailing some activities to be able to manage the COVID beds. We would have shown that proportionately the number of children has not really increased, but simply because there is a larger number of persons, that proportion is larger. So we are seeing an increase in the number of children in hospital now. And you can see this on this graph, where the number of children in hospital is getting to be higher than we have ever had before if it continues to increase.
2 St. Elizabeth lockups under COVID-19 quarantine. Police have confirmed that detainees at the 2 police lockups in St. Elizabeth are under COVID-19 quarantine. Newly appointed head of the St. Elizabeth Police, Superintendent Dwight Daly, told the news on Friday that the Santa Cruz Police Station lockup is under full quarantine, while some detainees are being quarantined at the Black River Police Station lockup. He said there are 14 detainees at the Santa Cruz lockup. A little over half were showing signs of COVID-19, and they were tested by representatives of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, he explained. Black River is now under full quarantine because of the percentage of prisoners that are showing symptoms of COVID. However, we are not admitting any prisoners in the facilities, he added. He said assessments were being done by the Ministry of Health and Wellness on Monday and Wednesday of this week. Consequently, court cases involving the detainees have been affected and the visits prohibited. Last October, the Santa Cruz Lockup was subject to a similar situation when detainees there were quarantined. St. James, a businessman, fatally shoots a son he mistook for intruder. The St. James Police Division is investigating the circumstances which led to the shooting death of a man in Rhine Park early Friday morning. Based on information gathered by the news, the dead man, Akeem Taylor, was shot and killed by his father in what lawmen described as an unfortunate situation. It is alleged that approximately 5:40 a.m., Taylor's father, a popular St. James businessman, upon seeing a shadow on the roof of his house, opened a fire and injured the man. After further investigations, it was revealed that the victim, Taylor, was the adult son of the businessman. The police were called to the scene, and Taylor was transported to the Cornwall Regional Hospital in the parish, where he later succumbed to his injuries. The Barrettown police are investigating. St. Elizabeth farmers held in gun and ammo bust charged. The two St. Elizabeth farmers who were apprehended following the seizure of guns and 150 rounds of ammunition along the Fort Charles coastline in Black River has been charged. Ernie Wright, 48, otherwise called Muta, of Ponderside District, and a 47-year-old Mark Pitt, who is from Burnt Savannah District, are jointly charged with illegal possession of firearm, illegal possession of ammunition, illegal importation of firearm, illegal importation of ammunition, and a conspiracy to import firearm and ammunition. They are scheduled to appear before the St. Elizabeth Parish Court on Thursday, January 13. It is reported that about 11:17 p.m. on December 30 last year, Wright and Pitt were aboard a boat when members of the Jamaica Defense Coast Guard intercepted it. During a search of the boat, the firearms and ammunition were found. The men were then taken into custody. 2 men killed in Kingston. The police are probing the fatal shooting of 2 men in central Kingston last night. One of the deceased has been identified as 39-year-old Carl Jones, a security guard of Wellington Street, Kingston 14. The body of the other unidentified man is of dark complexion, slim build, and about 6 feet long. The shooting happened about 9 p.m. at the intersection of North and King Streets. Residents reported hearing explosions and called the police. Upon their arrival, the men were found suffering from gunshot wounds. They were taken to hospital, where they were pronounced dead. Court order vacated against a constable who was arrested and brought before court in uniform. The court order issued against Constable Arnaldo Davis, who was handcuffed in uniform and taken to the St. Elizabeth Parish Court last year, has been vacated. In vacating the court order, Parish Judge Alwyn Smith extended an apology and offered commendation for the work the constable did in preparing his case file. On November 3, Judge Smith had issued a bench warrant for Constable Davis after he failed to appear in the Black River Court, where a matter was set for trial. The policeman, who was on short leave at the time, had attended the Children's Court in Balaclava, where he had another matter. On November 4, when the Black River Court resumed the proceedings, the judge gave instructions for Constable Davis to be arrested and placed before the court. Members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force were infuriated by the situation and threatened protests. Man killed in Ocompong shooting identified. The man who was killed during a shooting at an event in Ocompong, St. Elizabeth on Thursday evening has been identified as Lloyd Davis, a farmer of Beth Salem in the parish. 5 others, including 2 children who are 6 and 12 years old, received bullet wounds. Investigators say an altercation developed involving a policeman who is a Maroon and individuals at the event. Superintendent Dwight Daly, commanding officer for the St. Elizabeth Police Division, says the police were alerted shortly before 10 o'clock.
On their arrival, they realized that the victims were already taken to the Black River Hospital. They took control of the scene and another team was sent to the Black River Hospital. On their arrival at the hospital, they realized that 6 persons were shot and injured, 4 adults and 2 children. One of the adults have since succumbed to his injuries. While they were at the hospital, they received report that a policeman was at the Santa Cruz police station making a report. He was suffering from injuries to his face. Based on his report, we immediately realized that the 2 incidents were connected. His service pistol was seized and he was taken to the hospital for treatment.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.